What's up, everybody? So as they say, it's early in the morning right now. I gotta wake up and I gotta grind to go get it. And right now we're comparing the iPhone 6s Plus versus the Nexus 6P in 2018. Now what's interesting about both these phones is that they actually came out the same exact year and actually the same exact month in September. And looking around the bodies, they both have something in common. They both have pretty big bezels on the front. And they both almost feel the same in the hand when I had them. There is a huge crucial flaw with the Nexus 6P that I'll go into a little later in this video, but in terms of the body and everything, they both seem fairly the same. The Nexus 6P does have front-facing speakers, so that is something that has going for it, but they both have fingerprint sensors. The Nexus 6P is in the back. And overall, just the way the bodies look, I kind of like the way the Nexus 6P looks. I like the back of it, the black bar on the top. I've always liked that, I don't know why. Maybe you guys don't like it, but whatever. Now the 6s Plus has a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS panel. The Nexus 6P has a 5.7-inch 1440p AMOLED panel, and the Nexus 6P screen is definitely very good, and it's definitely one of the better aspects of this phone. I heard it wasn't calibrated properly when it was first released or something, but when I had mine, I liked the look of it. I do think overall OLED panels are better than IPS panels, and I don't think it's a secret. I think everybody knows that. And now what's actually interesting about both these phones is that they both were pretty much prone to being updated pretty much a long time. The iPhone 6s Plus started off getting iOS 9, and it's going to get iOS 12 when that's released, and probably almost 100% going to get iOS 13 as well. Where the Nexus 6P started off getting Android 6.0. Right now it's upgradable to Android 8.0, but as far as I know, I'm pretty sure it's going to get Android 9.0 when that comes out. That'll probably be the last update, but still, that's fairly much longer than what most Android manufacturers update their phones for. And now specs wise, I do want to preface this whole thing by saying that an iPhone does not need to have the same specs as an Android phone. It can have less specs and still technically be more powerful. That's just the way iOS is. It's a whole different operating system. The iPhone 6s Plus has an Apple A9 chip, a dual-core processor clocked at 1.84 GHz, and 2 GB of RAM, where the Nexus 6P has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 processor, an octa-core processor, an Adreno 430 GPU, and 3 GB of RAM. And I will say between the two, I honestly do think the iPhone 6s Plus is overall a little bit faster and a little bit more speedier than the Nexus 6P. And I do think it's somewhat noticeable if you're comparing them side by side, but I do think that if you're, holding them separately and you're not comparing them side by side, I generally do think you probably won't notice a huge difference between the two. I just found that opening speeds and keeping stuff in the background is just a little bit better on the iPhone 6s Plus, and that really has to go with iOS in general because it's a whole different operating system. Android, I don't really know what they're doing sometimes. I really love stock Android, and I do think the Nexus 6P really has an advantage over a lot of other Android phones and just Nexuses and Pixels overall because they're stock Android and they're not bloated with a bunch of random stuff inside of it. So in terms of Android phones, the Nexus 6P isn't horrible, but the iPhone 6s Plus definitely wins in terms of performance. And that kind of goes the same way with camera quality too. When the Nexus 6P was released, it was known of having a really great camera, and at the time the Nexus line of phones weren't necessarily known for having the best camera. When the Nexus 6 was released, a lot of people didn't like the camera in that, and so on and so forth, but they both have 12 megapixel cameras on the back. Well, technically the Nexus 6P is 12.3 megapixels. The Nexus 6P has laser autofocus, where the iPhone 6s Plus has OIS, and they both can shoot Quad HD videos and 1080p videos and 720p videos at almost the same exact frame rates. So in terms of overall camera quality, you would think that they both were pretty much the same, but I do think the iPhone 6s Plus has the advantage here. Now in terms of front cameras, the iPhone 6s Plus is 5 megapixels, where the Nexus 6P is 8 megapixels, and this is a prime example of where if you have more megapixels, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a better phone or a better camera, and I do 100% believe that's the case here because I do think the iPhone 6s Plus has a better camera than the Nexus 6P, so keep that in mind if you're planning on getting either of these phones. Now here's the interesting thing, okay? In terms of battery life, I do think the Nexus 6P kind of wins here a little bit. I've always had battery problems on my iPhone 6s Plus. I'm not really too sure why. But with the Nexus 6P, I've had pretty much solid battery life. But here's a humongous, crucial problem, is that the Nexus 6P had so many problems. It had battery problems, touch disease problems, hardware problems, all this stuff. So a lot of people were saying that as soon as their battery would hit 30-40%, the phone would just die. With the iPhone 6s Plus, it wasn't horrible battery life. It was more so average for being a Plus model. And even if the iPhone 6s Plus only lasted for 3 hours, I think still that's much better than the Nexus 6P because it had hardware failures. And me personally, I never had any problems with mine, but I can't say it doesn't exist because a lot of people have complained about it, and that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it at. And that kind of goes with the whole entire thing. I mean, when I made my first Nexus 6P video talking about it, I didn't even mention the hardware failures or anything. This was last year because I didn't even know about them. But then when I made this year's video, I was like, yeah, I gotta address them. And same thing kind of goes here. And it's kind of hard for me to recommend a phone to somebody that I know has problems with it or could potentially have problems with it. I mean, you very well could go and you can get a gem and have it working perfectly fine and all that stuff, but I think as a whole, I do think the iPhone 6s Plus does have an advantage here over the Nexus 6P. Honestly, if it was between the two and they both worked 100%, I would probably go for the iPhone 6s Plus anyway. I do think the Nexus 6P is still an awesome phone, awesome build quality, but I just can't recommend a phone that has these many problems. So yeah, go ahead and get the iPhone 6s Plus. Save yourself some trouble and time. I would hate to see you guys get a Nexus 6P and have that end up not working or something like that. So I'll leave links in the description for an iPhone 6s Plus, and if you really, really want it, I'll leave a link down there for Nexus 6P too, but the choice is yours at this point. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything, please leave them down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. We're still giving away an iPhone 6s and an iPhone SE on this channel, and in order to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All those links are down in the description, so make sure you enter that. Check out the other links down there too, my second channel, my SoundCloud, all that stuff is down there. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.